Mexican police wanted money from us. Listen, I know how Mexico works. I know that you gotta pay people off sometimes. I love my Mexico lindo, but it sucks that there's so much corruption. But bro, listen, we were going for a funeral this week and we have no time to waste. We're literally gonna arrive at the time that the funeral is starting. But at every single checkpoint, we get stopped by the military. And they just like make the biggest deal. They're like searching through our stuff. And miraban la cara de criminal or something, you know. On this last military checkpoint, the military dude was like, y'all gotta get off. We wanna check your bag. As he's like scavenging through my bags. Thank you for that. Like if I didn't take time to fold my clothes. He's like, what does your husband do for work? He's a mechanic. He's like, okay, so what do you do? First of all, I'm not going to tell you why I do TikToks. That's embarrassing. But also, it's none of your business. So I'm like, I'm a housewife.
Story time on how I beat up a 4-year-old in pre-K. Okay, so boom. I know this sounds crazy, but you let me know if I'm in the wrong here. So I work in a daycare in Florida. It's very prestige and parents pay a lot of money to put their kids in this daycare. As a teacher, I'm obviously not allowed to hit kids because that's inappropriate, but sometimes kids can really get you out of character. So this 4-year-old boy was gifted, which means he was super smart. Also about to skip pre-K because he was that smart. But him being smart also came with him being very aggressive. Like if he raised his hand to answer a question but you don't call on him, he would get mad and yell at me. Or if a student didn't know an answer to a question, he would call that student stupid then give the correct answer. He was aggressive and his parents did nothing to stop him. Well, one day this 4-year-old boy took it too far. We were at the playground and for some reason he was mad at one of the girls in his class. I see him bullying her and I told him to stop. And he did. I turned around to tend to another student and boom. Part 2 on how I beat up a 4-year-old in pre-K. Okay, so boom, like I said, the little boy that was gifted was mad at one of the girls in his class. I seen him bullying her and told him to stop and he did. I turned around to tend to another student and boom. When I turned back around, I see him push her to the floor and she starts crying. I ran over to her and this little girl was on the floor bleeding. She was pushed onto the concrete floor and her bone on her knees was exposed. She was a very little fragile skinny girl and 4 years old, so that push was real bad. She was bleeding. I ran for help, called an ambulance, and they came and took her. I then took him to my classroom. I mean, I can't even lie to y'all. I really beat that boy up. He was crying in shock because I'm sure he was never disciplined, and I got fired. The girl did make a full recovery, but she had a very long recovery time. Now I can't work with kids anymore.
Relatives. One of them is this huge house with a pool and a huge backyard with lots of features. We decided to host our first cookout after we got married 7 months ago, and we invited both his family and mine. On Friday, both families came and we had lots of fun, then everyone went home later. I then got a phone call from my mom and she didn't sound okay. She asked whether or not my husband took money from his family before they attended the cookout. I was confused. I asked what she was talking about and she told me that my husband charged every single person from my side of the family who attended the event $25. I was utterly shocked and very angry and felt like this legitimately damaged my relationship with most of my family because almost all of them came over. Just that, but he got $275 from them. I was so livid, I hung up the phone and confronted him immediately. He told me that my family got to enjoy the space and the view and said that I shouldn't think of it a resort cookout since this house has a lot of luxuries. I told him it was a horrible thing for him to do and that what made it worse is the fact that his family didn't pay like mine had to. He laughed and reminded me that his family gave him this house. I demanded that he give the money back and he said no and that he won't even give it to me since the house is technically his. I took the money and gave everyone who paid their money back with a sincere apology for me. My husband found out and flipped out, calling what I did an overstepping and disrespectful thing. I told him he shouldn't have taken money from my family for being guests at our house. He corrected me saying it's his house and said that he bet my family had never gotten to attend a cookout at a house like this and that it was just $25.
Caught my neighbor trying to open my apartment door. Should I be worried? Disclaimer is not my story time. It's me on Instagram. I just moved into my new apartment 2 months ago. Everything's been completely normal and fine up until a few weeks ago. I went to my mailroom to pick up some packages and there happened to be one of my neighbors there. He says his name is Jerry and he actually introduced himself to me. I had never seen him before, but he just said, "Hey, how are you?" I said, "Hi." And then he said, "Are you new to the building?" And I confirmed that I was new to the building. That's when he said that I looked familiar to him and he asked me where I went to school. I told him where I went to school and then he started asking me more questions. But the more questions he asked me, the more I realized he was just trying to find me on Facebook. I didn't give him my last name or anything. But ultimately, this guy knows where I live, so I was just like, whatever. That's when he started recommending restaurants and cafes around our neighborhood. He just kept talking and talking and talking. I ended up standing there for 10 minutes listening to him talk until I told him I had to leave. That's when he said it was so nice to meet me and that he'd see me around. Keep in mind, he does not know what floor I live on at this point. Then a few days later, I see him again at the mailroom. I said hello, but I made sure to act like I was in a hurry. But of course, he had to stop me and we talked again for like 5 minutes. Follow for part 2. I caught my neighbor trying to open my apartment door. Should I be worried? Disclaimers and on my story time instead of me on Instagram. I knew he was gonna talk my ear off, so I told him I was in a hurry and I had to go. And he says, no worries, maybe we should catch up sometime. And I said, cool, bye. I did not say yes. A few hours later, I get on my Instagram and I see that he started following me. I wasn't super creeped out at this point. I was just like, okay, maybe he's just trying to be friendly. I instantly went and blocked him from seeing my stories. I didn't want him to keep tabs on me that way. Oh, also, I forgot to mention I work from home and I do have 2 dogs. My dogs are always pretty quiet. I've never had a complaint about them. They really don't bark. Since I work from home, I walk them about 3 times a day. And remember, at this point, he doesn't know what floor I live on. At least I didn't think so. A few days later, I decided to go have dinner with one of my best friends. I left my apartment for literally 40 minutes because I try not to leave my dogs alone for too long. When I get off the elevator at my floor, I see the guy trying to open my door. He was pushing the door with his shoulder. I yelled at him from across the hallway and said, what are you doing? Then he looked shocked. Then he said, oh, sorry. I heard noise in your apartment and I wanted to make sure your dogs are okay. How does he know I have dogs? Part 3 is on my story time instead of on Instagram. When I caught him red-handed trying to open my door, I asked him what he was doing. He said that he walked by and heard my dogs making really loud noises, and that he just wanted to make sure that they were okay. My dogs were making 0 noises, and how did he know I had 2 dogs? And how did he know what floor I lived on? I was officially creeped out. He saw the look on my face and said, oh, I'm so sorry if I made you uncomfortable. I was just trying to check on your dogs. That's when I told him that he didn't need to do that and that it was okay and he could leave now. That's when he started freaking out. He said, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. I can tell I made you uncomfortable and I feel like I've ruined everything. That's when I told him that he hadn't ruined anything because nothing was going on. Then he said, maybe you should give me your phone number so that if something like this happens again, I can just call you. I said no immediately. I told him he could leave again, and he walked away. He's halfway down the hallway and says, oh, we should still catch up for some coffee or something. What? I am concerned, but I don't know if I'm just freaking out for no reason. Could he have really been trying to help? Or am I right to think that he was trying to break in? I emailed my landlord and they said that they've never had a problem with him before. What the heck should I do?
Story